What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Halftime with Bizzy. Today we have a very special guest for episode 64, and this is a very unique topic and something that I don't know if many of you guys think about, but I definitely do. And it's putting together stages and putting together, the majors or all of these other events that we watch all year round. We have James Watts joining us today on the podcast, and he's the Esports Operations Manager over at Blast TV. Today we talk about pretty much all the back end kind of stuff that you don't really see as the viewer unless you're working at the event. We talk about communication with teams, we talk about shipping all of the staging equipment across the world and getting all of the other camera equipment and all that, moving it all across the world, setting up for majors, the awesome major, Paris major specifically. A lot of cool stuff. He even tells me a little bit about an idea that they had for the awesome major that didn't quite make the final cut. So stay tuned for that too. But it's going to be an awesome episode. You guys are going to love it. I know I did. And Wattsy is an awesome guy. Really fun to talk to. I could have sat him down all night and just kept asking him questions because they're just so interesting learning about this. If you're new to the podcast, we do episodes every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We've done episodes with everybody from Wanders, Doo-Wop, Franjay, War Owl, Sparkles, Gooseman. I mean, the list goes on. We've had a lot of cool people on the podcast, so if you want to check those out, feel free to go check them out. We got playlists on the channel, so if you're into certain little aspects of Counter-Strike, whether it's esports, whether it's skin creators, no matter what, we have something that you're going to like on the channel, so definitely go check out some other stuff. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're getting close to 500 subs. But we're going to jump right into things, so we're going to stop this intro here. We will catch you guys on the outro. Make sure you guys enjoy the podcast and show Wattsy some love in the comments.
Yeah, fella, how's it going?
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good, love
How
to
about
hear
yourself?
it. Yeah, I'm all right, man. I'm all right. There's a lot of traffic on the way home. Again, apologies for that. I wasn't expecting that, but we got it.
No stress at all.
So yeah, dude, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. This was, we've been talking for a little bit of time now, so to have it finally come together is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm good. It's been to be honest, you messaged at like the busiest time of like back-to-back events,
Yeah.
so
Well, the fact that you saw it and still took the time out of your busy day and busy schedule to answer me, and here we are talking now, so like I can't thank you enough, man. It means a lot.
so good.
All right, well, perfect. I guess we'll just jump right into it then. I usually like to start everything off the same way and just ask the simple question of how did you stumble upon Counter-Strike and how long ago roughly was it that you started playing?
Yeah, so I think I would say I wasn't a 1.6 or a Source player. I was a COD player back in the day, like on PC, so I never got that vibe. So I was a CS:GO player, like quite early on.
Okay.
Um, and then yeah, just I would watch just like the majors that pop up, but I was just I like enjoyer of the game, very much not the esports at the beginning. Was just I like playing this game. It
It's like a
one of the
hobby.
best FPSs. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I loved how I don't know, man. I started in CS:GO too, so we got that in common. And I look back at like the 1.6 days and Source. Not many people really enjoyed it too much, but I was so happy looking back at it now, especially like being a part of CS:GO was so awesome. But like 1.6 especially, like oh my god, I wish I was like maybe 10 years older to have lived to play that when it was active.
Yeah, I have quite a few of my friends who were 1.6 players, and yeah, they speak about it like so fondly that it was like you know the best thing ever invented.
Yeah.
I trust them. You know what I mean? Like if everyone says it's the best thing ever, then it must be. You know.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same way I look at it for sure. And you kind of touched on it a little bit, but like what was it that actually got you reeled in like to watching majors and all the other events that CS:GO had?
Yeah, so I've always watched like I used to watch League back in the day, and then when it was I used to watch it quite religiously, and then it was like, oh, there's esports for other titles that I play. Okay, that's the major pops up on the front of the game. The original um Pick'ems kind of style,
Yeah.
and then so that's what would entice me in, and then back in the day, a lot of the old ESL tournaments. I was like, okay, I'm hooked now. This is my world from now on. Ignore League of Legends. That game sucks now. Counter Strike is like, the next big thing for me.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's something special, especially when you look at like I started playing in 2015. I started kind of watching like esports in like maybe 2016. When you look back at that era, and the venues looked awesome. The streams were amazing. Everything was awesome. But you look at what we got now, especially like all of the big tournament organizers now. It's insane. Like we have developed a lot.
Yeah, it just the professionality, you know what I mean? Like it got so close to sports, and then now it's like succeeded sports, I would say, in a lot of like the broadcast sense. It's fascinating to see, the old just crappy studio events used to have back in the day, and then now it's
Like
these
arenas.
studios. Yeah, these even the studio events are now much more elaborate. It isn't just two guys with a screen behind them. It's if you saw our Bounty or like Pro League where there's a massive back area behind the casters, it's just jumped up to a whole new level, which is insane.
Yeah, it's truly a beautiful thing to see how it's progressed, and I don't know what the next steps are in terms of like how does it further develop. I don't know what happens there, but I'm just glad that we have what we have. And like you said too about esports, it was the same type of thing. Like you get into CS:GO and you're like, oh yeah, this has esports. Like what the hell's that? And then you figure out like Rocket League has it, and Call of Duty. Like people probably knew about that. Call of Duty esports was pretty big, but like you said, there's so many other games that have it, and it's I don't know. I might be biased, but I think CS Counter Strike definitely does it the best for sure.
Yeah, I've had like such a great opportunity to work on loads of different titles, especially at like their top events. And again, nothing beats, especially the major.
Oh yeah,
Nothing beats that. Like it's insane. It's a whole the whole different thing, and nothing grasps that. Even like Worlds maybe in League is close, but the major is massive. It's long, like
it's just like a piece of
cutthroat.
magic. It's magical.
Yeah. Lucky to have two a year as well, which is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. I think of things like I mean, Canada, so hockey's like huge here. We have the Stanley Cup Finals, and that's like essentially the major, right? You're playing for the trophy, and it's a huge thing. But you only have that one time a year. And we have
Yeah.
Counter Strike majors twice a year. It's like we get blessed. It's amazing. This episode of Halftime with K Busy is brought to you in part by Pricempire.com. Pricempire.com is absolutely loaded with essential tools for any skin enthusiast. Whether it be their blog, their price comparison app, the trending deals, or your personal inventory tracker, I mean, Price Empire really has it all. Pricempire.com is trusted by more than 1 million users on Trustpilot to ensure everybody that it is a fair and legit website. Pricempire.com is linked in the description. Go step your skins game up today.
The also the idea that it's run by different people is also fantastic. Each major is different. Like no two majors are very much the same. Everyone has their own different vibe. So it's not boring to have two a year for me. Like we got the Austin major, great, fantastic, went well, and then obviously Star Ladder, they're going to do their own thing in I think it's Bucharest. Like it's just going to be a whole different tournament, but the same prestige, which is what I enjoy about CS.
For sure. And if it was the same tournament organizer, no matter who it is, I think if it was the same organizers running each major, I think it would kind of get a little stale. So to have the variety is really sweet too.
Yeah, I mean, having for me having different organizers just means like everyone tries to one up the last person. I guess you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
ESL is probably going to try and one up Starladder. But boom, that way is just everyone's just trying to make the better one, which is good for everybody, right? Good for the viewers, good for the players.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. And for my next question, I wanted to ask, when did you start seeking opportunities to be involved in the esports in regards to Counter-Strike specifically? Was this like a dream of yours that, you started watching Counter-Strike Global Offensive Esports and then it kind of opened your eyes up and this was something that you wanted to pursue?
I'm lucky and very fortunate compared to a lot of people who do work in esports. Is I just knew somebody who, um, he was starting out and had regular work, and just he was like, "Hey, we need bodies for a PUBG event. So obviously, you need a boatload of admins." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Some side money to make while I work." Did one event. I was like, "Okay, I want to do this for as a job. This is amazing." And then I eventually got to work my first CS LAN, probably like a couple months into it, which was ESL Premiership, which is the national UK CS. Uh, I think notable players that played. I think Mezzy played on that tournament.
Oh, damn.
Imi, Imi, who's a coach in Valorant now, was a coach in CS as well. Couple of the players that went on to be decent UK players in Valorant, they all played in. Like some of them played in that tournament. I went back a couple months ago to check. I was like, "What was my first event?" And then just saw all these names. I was like, "Oh, that's weird." They're
Yeah.
now going on and doing these insane things. Messi just won a major, and like all these people did really well in Valorant. It was like, that's kind of cool. We all did our own thing in esports.
Yeah, and I mean, you've seen Messi's a prime example of a guy that you've seen him at these little lands, and look at him now, the first UK guy to ever lift a major trophy. Dude's breaking records on the best team in the world. I mean, the list goes on of the accolades.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I do have a really funny story. Um, so I bumped into his brother one time in Face It. I was just playing a game of Face It. Somehow we both realized that we like there's a little bit of crossover in our like Steam friends or something. And he was like, "Wait a minute," and then we just started chatting. He was like, "Oh yeah, Messi." I'm like, "Yeah, he's played in some of my tournaments." He's like, "That's my brother," and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty funny. That's pretty cool. Like, it's a small world."
What are the chances of that?
Yeah,
Holy shit, that's awesome. And I gotta say too, I was pretty impressed when I was doing research for this, specifically this episode with you. I was looking at some of your accolades, and I mean, some of them include being a social media coordinator for Epic.LAN, being a senior online admin for ESL, being self employed freelance tournament operations, as well as working that same position under Blast, and to top it off, being the Esport Operations Manager. I think this is absolutely fucking awesome. And this is just another prime example of EU Counter Strike versus NA Counter Strike. I don't know if that's even possible to do in on this side of the world. I think that's like just shows how powerful EU is, you know what I mean, in terms of esports and Counter Strike and stuff like that. I was wondering if you can walk me through your beginnings in this chapter of your life and talk about kind of the beginnings, like how you got started and all that.
yeah. So I start off like most freelancers, and it's all self-employed. So getting a nice relationship with tournament organizers in my local region. So for the UK, the two at the time, the two big companies was ESL UK and Epiclan, which was there at the moment quite a lot of interest in them because they have VRS tournaments at the moment. Um, Epiclan was all volunteer based, so there's just an incredible set of people that go through Epiclan. Any UK person ever has gone through that system. Machine went through there. A bunch of talent in other games went through Epiclan. Um, so that's where I was like, right, I have to work along, in this system because it worked. Like if you have all these famous casters who've gone through, like Henry G back in the day, Richard Lewis, all turned up there. Like you have to work that. So I think I did 4 or 5 events for them in various different like social media roles or just helping out because I had I'd gained a lot of experience over the years, and anyone who does want to do this kind of role, I'd recommend looking for your BYOC in your country. Like if you're from there's quite a lot at the moment. They got a lot of hype, like Fragadelphia and there's Dracula Land. Like you have the opportunity to work these types of events. Very much say you should because yeah, it's a bit of a sacrifice. It's volunteer, but you get all the experience, you get all the contacts. Like a lot of the people I hire and I used to hire come through that system. It's a good way to see if someone's good at their job and then go, okay, I'm going to take you and start paying you to, do these other events. Some of the guys that worked the recent event Bounty, they came from like Epic Land. So I would say, yeah, lands like that, always recommend. And then we had ESL UK, which is obviously was a branch of ESL before it closed down. They just did, like corporate events, worked with like Supercell or, like white label events. And that's where I got paid. That was the events where I'd get hired freelance, come in, work as a junior with some really good talent in terms of admins. There's a good admin called Matt, yeah, who's what was known back in the day, still is. He works on FIFA now, I think, and got to work under him, got to learn a bit from him, and if I can be a fraction as good as him, then I think I'm doing well for myself.
Yeah, I mean, the resume shows, and it sounds like you went about it the right way. It's not always about you're not always with a job like this anyway. You're not always gonna just be able to apply. It's not like a normal, quote unquote, normal job, if you want to call it that. Like you can't always just apply with no experience, especially, and just expect to land the job and start getting paid. So to do volunteer work at first was like that sounds like probably the best course of action for something like this.
Yeah, I would say there's the two courses. There's online stuff as well, like platforms like Face It have a bunch of volunteer base. Like that's a good way to start if you have zero, foot into the scene. Um, or you could just be lucky, like that is 90% of it for a lot of people is just someone reads what you wrote and gone, oh, that person doesn't sound bad, or they sound like a good person to deal with, and then yeah, that's how you get your opportunities. Like it's how we deal when we find local people across the world when we go to events. Is the brief resume you give us is, do you sound competent or do you sound like a normal human being? Okay, we want you to come work this event because you're going to be fun to work with, or you know what I mean, like we don't mind training you, but you sound like you're going to be a decent person to spend 12 hours a day for a week straight, like
Yeah.
that's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't want to be talking to, any of the staff like you would if you're toxic and you're playing CS2 and you're talking to your teammates. You don't want to talk to them like that. That's for sure.
Definitely not.
So, in your, so far, have you faced any challenges with like all of the jobs that you've had so far? Like, especially being the manager of operations, like I feel I'm not too knowledgeable with. I've done research on it and stuff, but I'm not sure. It sounds like there's a lot that would come with this type of job in terms of planning and executing the event. Like, is there any challenges or like pros or cons to something like this, or does it you kind of just pick it up after a while and roll with the punches?
I think every event is something different. Like you could, because we travel across the world. Each like hotel is different. Each venue is different. So you just there's a different challenge, and your whole my job specifically is basically a lot of this issue has happened. How do I make sure players can still play? Okay, that issue is fixed, and it's just rinse and repeat. Different issues. I think my job is like split into it's like logistics. So getting the equipment to places, making sure we have enough equipment, and then building like practice rooms, the s- the stations on stage, the what the players actually play on,
Hmm.
and then the other side of it is the rules, the tournament side, dealing with the management or the sports psychologist for teams, and each comes with their own challenges. Teams, it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of I would say discussions, but usually it's arguments. Yeah, the and yeah, so that's like the part of my job that's probably the most not stressful, but the most that's like intense is team A doesn't agree with what Blast has come up to like decided, and then I'm the person in the middle that's like, right,
Like the
team, let me hear
mediator.
you. Yeah, yeah, I'm like, team, let me hear you out. Okay, yes, that is reasonable. Okay, I go to my bosses and go, this team has said this, and I kind of agree with them. Can we find a middle ground? And it's a lot of that, but then I'm the person who's also the executioner, which is the person who's like, no, this is happening. Sorry, you don't like it. You know, it's
Okay. So it's
it's the
more of
kind of
like
this.
it's kind of like mediating and seeing what you can do, but at the end of the day, if the bosses want something done, you have to kind of enforce that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I always joke and say the executioner because it's like sometimes I just have to say no.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes it's harsh, and that's just how it has to
Uh,
be. I went to the Austin major a couple months ago, and that was the second major I went to. The first one I went to was PGL Copenhagen last March, and I thought the PGL one was great. I only went for the grand finals for that one, but I went for the whole playoffs for the Austin major, and I can't believe like what an event. Like you guys absolutely killed it.
yeah, this is my second major, and I also did the Paris major as well, led it, and this one was so smooth. Like from behind the scenes, like my staff, every single staff member was the perfect person to hire. Like the vibes were good. There was like very little tech issues. Um, it was one of those of like the 21 days I was in Austin or something like that. There was nothing. There was no like hiccup. You know, it kind of just ran, and then I was home, and I was like, okay, this is very strange. Like normally I would have expected a couple of hurdles, but it was just, I don't know. I want to say perfect event closely. Obviously still some issues every now and then, but like closest to perfect you could have, and like then the crowd was insane. It was. I don't know what else I could ask for an event.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, man. I was walking around. I met up with some people, and we were walking around, and we got some beers, and we were looking. There was like one section of the venue, and it had like a big, huge black curtain. We're like, oh, what the hell is that? That's probably the inside of the arena. And we looked in, and we saw like all the smoke everywhere. It looked so awesome. Had like it was like dark and kind of blue lighting. It was like it really. I don't know how to describe it, but I mean, if you were there, and which you obviously were, but if anyone listening to this was there, like they know what I'm talking about. It was just like the perfect way to capture like the beginning before shit kicks off and we see crazy Counter Strike and the big huge blow up terrorists, like everything, dude. Like, oh my god, the stage, everything, the trophy. I don't know, man. You guys probably opened up a lot of eyes for probably another NACS major, and I really hope that that was the case because a lot of people were really happy about it, myself included, for sure.
Yeah, I was when we found out internally that we were going to America. It was that like, okay, this needs to be good. Like not only do we have to one up Paris, but it's also like, okay, we have to make sure the NA fans are happy, right? It's been so long since the last one. Like, let's fucking do it. And like the team we have is like it's not a team I deal with, like that production team and the guys who make our stages and the vibe of it. But this the ideas I heard from them were just wacky. Like when we first heard about Austin, there was some wild ideas thrown about just to like, trying to hit that mark of how do we make the fans happy? How do we make those people in that crowd scream until their their voices aren't a thing anymore? And I think this was as good as some of the ideas that popped up.
Are you allowed to say what ideas maybe that didn't actually get, whatever didn't happen? Are you allowed to speak on that, or is that you can't talk about that?
I mean, one of the ones that I personally really enjoyed was one of our producers. He came to me and he was like, "What do you think of this?" And the idea was um, fully cowboy themed. Like I'm talking stage, looking like like you walk down the sandy road and there's the wooden buildings on the side kind of thing. He's like media day. We get all the players dressed up as cowboys like
Oh my
properly and do.
god.
And I was just like, I want unlimited budget. Let's do it. I want to see a player on the back of a horse. You know what I mean? I would do the whole thing. But obviously, you can come up with wild ideas, and then someone has to turn around and go, that seems a little expensive, or we don't have the time or bodies to do that. But I think this was good enough. The blow up terrorists were a cool little touch. Um, so yeah, I was pretty happy with it from my side as like an enjoyer of the event. Um, so yeah, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my favorite parts about everything was the show match. Like, absolutely legendary. Just legendary.
Yeah, we've so show matches have always been a little bit my baby in work. So
Okay.
um So every single time I get told, "Hey, there's a show match," I'm like, "Okay, what do you want to do with it?" Someone doesn't tell me until like a week before what they want to do with it, so I have to scramble to kind of make it work. And so some of the times it's me and my admins backstage just crying, laughing, doing dumb stuff on the server. So, oh, there was a show match once where we nearly broke the server because we were spawning chickens like every anywhere the person looked on the observer, I would spawn chickens constantly,
Oh my
and
god.
we could see the performance of the server, and the server was getting red. You know what I mean? Like it was just getting, oh, it's crashing, it's crashing. I was like, I'm still going, even if they're not on that part of the map. They're eventually gonna get there, and there's just a sea of chickens, and it's just stuff like that that could go wrong, and I was fuck it. Well, if it breaks, it's probably even funnier. Like it's just like I'll keep going, and I asked the bosses, I was like, can I just do whatever I want? And said yeah, and I was like, okay, I'll make it funny for me, and hopefully that's funny for you know the rest of the people.
16,000 people.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta say this before we move on to the next question. I don't know if you're familiar with the name Lillykyu. She makes a lot of workshop maps and she's pretty popular on Twitter. She makes a lot of really crazy maps. I don't know if you've heard the name.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen a lot of the Twitter posts and the crazy ideas they come up with.
Yeah. So she's a friend of mine, and me and my friends have talked about it a million times. I don't know if anybody from Blast is going to listen to this, or maybe you could put a word in, but we got to see one day, whenever, someday soon, we got to see a Lillykyu map for the show match. We have to.
I mean, we're always down for fun shit. So after this, we can talk about it. I'll get the email and I can just put them to our head of product because they're always looking for something. So it might not be a next event thing, but it could be something. We're always looking to do wild stuff. And back in the day, like COVID era, we used to do a lot of like online media days or custom maps. So we've done it before in the past, and why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, we'll talk about this after the podcast, but
All
I
right.
just figured because I got you here, I love what she does, and like I said, she's a friend of mine, and she's really nice person, and does really great work. So she definitely deserves that. Out of many people, she definitely deserves it. But we'll continue on, and we'll regroup with that later after the episode. I tried to get that out. So I know you're probably bound to not speak on certain things. So if there's anything, again, like we said earlier, if there's anything that you can't talk about, if you just want to pass on it, then that's totally cool. But I just figured I'd ask anyway. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble here. Obviously, this is one of the most prestigious tournament organizers out there. We're talking Blast TV. How does it feel like when you look back at when you started and when you look at where you are now? Like, did you ever think that you'd be in the position to work with all of these people and work for such an awesome company? Like, did you ever have an idea of what it would be like and what it actually is? Like, what's your whole thought on how far you've come so far?
Uh, I, I have a really fun story that will oh, not fun story, like a story that cements this quite well was uh end of COVID-ish era. Um, I wrote down on a piece of paper, it was like, what do I want to do? Like, I could either stop now, go into what I was going to originally do, which was teaching, or what do I want to do is like the four things. And one was a certain amount of money a year was the top one. I was like, I want to make this much. And then the next two were work a major and then work for one of the top TOs, like full time at least. Um, and at that time, I did a couple of events for Blast, and I started getting like longer projects rather than just turning up for an event and then leaving. It was like, okay, we need you to do like a month of prep for the event and then do the event. And then that was kind of like, okay, I've ticked the box now. You know, I'm working for that TO and working for this, Blast. It's, I would say, one of the big three, four TOs in CS. And I was like, okay, great. And then got to do the major, and I was like, okay, I'm taking another one off the list. And I'm like, oh, now I get paid that amount of money a year. I'm like, okay, that's I'm ticking off. Not many people get to do that, and it's such a leap from driving or taking a train down to a random city in England and working for £100 a day, which is not the much. Like
Yeah.
people don't even get paid that now these days. So it is such a massive leap, and attitude to events has changed as well. Like back in the day, and a lot of this is kind of a secret, well, not really a secret, but like it's quite a big drinking culture in like England and especially event work. You'd always finish the night off and you go for a couple of drinks afterwards, and that's kind of changed now. Like a lot of admins don't even do that. It's all work and no play. Like people will do their job and then maybe have one pint and go to bed. Like the
Okay.
the thought process has changed quite a lot in admins because everyone's just taking it, you know, taking the job properly. They want to do it full time and they want to make it a career. And there's a lot of admins, and even some of the more prestigious admins have they've all become adults.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a job you wouldn't want to show up the next day with a hangover for. That's for sure.
That's what it used to be like back in the day. But in the like really crappy events you used to do for like I'm talking 2018 maybe, it was like you would finish the day, work like 12 plus hours. Okay, that's have 3, 4 pints. You wake up the next day like, ooh, this is gonna be a rough couple hours in the morning.
Oh man. Oh, I love it. I love it. And so when you're preparing for an event like Blast Rivals or even something massive like we were just talking about the Austin Major that just passed, what has to happen in terms of like coordination with production teams, moving equipment, setting up stages, communication with players and teams and organizations, all of that kind of thing? Because from the outsider looking in, again, I have no knowledge about any of this stuff, so I find this personally really like it's just really cool to hear about because a lot of people don't really know about the whole behind the scenes thing. So from the outsider looking in, I just think of everything involved and just kind of scratch my head. It to me it seems like one of the most biggest and complex jobs somebody could have, or a team of people could have, I should say. Is it as complicated as a noob like me makes it out to be, or is it not as hard as myself or others may think?
I think it all depends on the scale of the company. So like I've worked in small companies and worked in obviously Blast, a large company, and it all depends on how many hats people are wearing. So for Blast, we have quite a lot of teams. So a team can just focus on that one thing. So we have a team that's dedicated to just logistics of shipping equipment. So for me, it's real easy. I just go, I need this equipment to turn up in this country. Please make sure that happens. And then they'll go, yes, sure, that's fine. And then they'll handle all that side. And then I'll go to one team about right. We have like a player management team, so their whole job is the communication. And so I'll say, hey, here's all the tournament information. Here's everything a player might team might need. You can send that to them, or sometimes I do that as well. But like, hey, let's kind of make comms quite clear to teams, one voice. Hey, here you go, send that to them, and then it's just production. They'll ask me all the questions about like we'll do back and forth on how long they want breaks to be. What team is going to play when. So that's where like a lot of communication happens. So it's not complicated because it's just having conversations with people and just being able to provide the information that they need to do their jobs. But it's just a lot of it because we have like 7 events a year, and some of them are back to back to back. Like right now, we have bounties straight into open. There's a week between, so I wouldn't say it's complicated. It's just a lot of information that you have to make sure everybody knows. Or if they someone doesn't get that information, then it could ruin a media day because they didn't find out who the players were. For example, let's say
Okay.
for example, Elise has just been benched right on phase.
Yeah,
Um,
unfortunate.
yeah, so if I didn't tell, our media team, they might try and get Elise for an interview for media day, and it's like, well,
Oh.
he's not there, so that messes with the team schedule. So it's just a lot of like comms and um, just make sure everyone is aware of what goes on. And then some other teams in Blast do have a lot more complicated work, like our team that deals with logistics, because they're dealing with logistics of like Rainbow Six Siege, Dota, like all the other tournaments we do, and all that equipment. And it's like, this one's getting flown here, this one's on a boat here, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not dealing with that. I just want this in
Yeah.
Hong Kong on this date. Thank you. Bye.
It's just so amazing to me to think that like you guys are shipping all. I always think about it. I'm an overthinker. Maybe I have autism or something. I don't know, but I always think of like the stages and like all of the equipment that you guys like the cameras and absolutely everything you guys are shipping across the world. Like it's so amazing to me. It's so cool.
Yeah, we like it. It's kind of cool. I learn more and more. It's not my role, but I learn more every single time I deal with them. And like, there's like corners you can cut really funnily just to like make sure equipment is in one place. So, for example, like Malta, we've just been in. We're gonna just leave equipment there, ready for our next time we're there, and
Oh,
then
okay.
ship some of that to London because it's so close. Like someone's got a big brain, and it's not me to deal with that. You know what I mean? I can just I can barely make it sure, like, I've got equipment at the hotel, I got equipment at the arena, done. That's all I need to worry about, not
Okay.
it across the whole planet because it's insane. But yeah, like we just did Malta, and straight away that Sunday night, once the grand finals was finished, it was pack it all, make sure it's ready for a van that night. Literally, I think like early hours of the morning, a van will turn up and take it, ready to be shipped to London. Boom, done.
Man,
It's wild.
that's super cool stuff. And in terms of all of the like event planning and stuff like that, how long does it take to plan it and put together an event? Like we've seen the esport grow and evolve so many times over the past decade, like we were talking about at the beginning of this episode, and just gets better and better. Is the creative process lengthy or anything? Like, do you guys kind of have it down pat and you have an idea? Okay, we're gonna do this, that, and then your teams talk and it's quickly formulated, or is it kind of different every single time?
Yeah, I'd say different every time. The things like the major is that's massive. Like that's a whole. We literally hire a whole separate team to deal with a bunch of like chunks of that. Um, for things like our opens, bounties, and rivals, it's a couple of month lead time of like the logistic side of it, or the comms to teams. Um, but now that teams or TOs have to announce their events like 2 years basically, it feels like. Um, I can do planning for all of those now and kind of get ahead of it rather than not knowing what's going to happen until like 6 months prior or something like that. So it's it's not a lot of time, I wouldn't say, but it's still a couple of months just to make sure for me, like, we have to do a VRS, so inviting the teams, making sure the teams know they're roughly in the bracket for VRS. I think now that we've dealt with it for like 8 months, everyone's kind of half used to what's going to go on with invites.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's like overly complicated just because everything's already set up. If we were, a brand new TO, fresh off the boat, never done in a single event, and then it's like, right, we're gonna do our first event. I think that would take quite a long time. I assume that's probably the reason like Star Ladder might have took, they had a quite a long break, and I assume that would have had a quite a lot long planning time until their first event because you know they had stopped and but the gears weren't turning. You know what I mean? Like we have everybody just constantly doing what they need to do, so there's it's quite quick to get everything sorted.
Okay, I gotcha. And when things are set up and the stage and the venue is ready to have players and fans attend, is there still behind scenes work that you guys have to do? I'm sure it's kind of like, communication, like how you've been saying. And I'm sure you guys get to sit back and enjoy the hard work that you guys have all put together and you guys get to enjoy what, the show that you guys have put on. You guys get to do stuff like that?
My team probably not because so
What?
when we turn up, we're still actively running it. So I'm mainly on comms with like production, and then I have a bunch of guys under me who are. If you ever look at the stage, you'll see an admin stood behind the teams. So that's a part of my team. So we're still working from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Um, we try and get breaks so people can kind of like nip out, watch for 10 minutes and go, oh my God, okay, this is why we do it. I sometimes grab my senior admin and go, right, you're doing my job for 10 minutes. Like I did it in the major. I was like, right, I want to go out and actually see what I'm doing, what I'm doing it
Yeah,
for.
for sure.
Um, so yeah, sometimes I do that. Sometimes I like grab people to do sneaky tours. So I've done it in the past where like local admins who, I know of and trust. I'll go and meet them and give them like a backstage 10-minute, okay, I'm allowed to, I'm allowed to leave my desk for once. I'll show you where the teams like you go and show you the back behind the stage. Um, but it is a lot of work still while the event is on. Um, we don't finish until we've packed down for the day. On on the Sunday and the last day, that's when we can take a breath and go right. I get to travel home now.
Yeah, probably a huge weight lifted off the shoulders.
Exactly. Yeah, that was Paris. When I got home from Paris, it was like, oh, first major done. I am gonna sleep for a week.
And like the first major that you did, which is obviously, I'm sure, a huge feather in your cap, as it would be for anybody. Like that's a huge opportunity. But the last major of CS:GO, like how was it putting all of that together? Was that I'm sure it was thought of like it's a major, obviously, so there's that to start off of, but it's the last one for CS:GO, and it looked awesome. I wasn't there for that one, but on the stream and everything, it like everything looked awesome. Was this like something that you guys took to an even further step and go, okay, like we got to make sure we go out with a bang with this one?
Yeah, it was. I would say it was like peak stress, peak. Let's do this. Like try and do this as right as possible because it was Blast's first major. It was the last CS:GO major. It was. You had to end with a bang. And I think we did well. And it was also not even my. It was my first major, and it was the first time I ever led a major. So it's like all these stresses on top, and it was like right, let's just make sure it runs. We don't have any issues. That's the end of the day. Is like we get a winner, everyone's happy. Players get their sticker money and their stickers. Job is like that's my tick box of like I've done it now. Happy. Um, but it was insane. Everyone was pulling late shifts just to make sure everything was good. Like I think every single person at Blast who worked on that event lost a year of their life. Just making sure it got past the finish line and yeah, like all our different departments like killed it and it was so good to see. Like everybody afterwards, once it was done, everyone's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like weight lifted off their shoulders. You could see them all having a drink. We had like an after party in Paris, and it was probably the craziest one for a long time because everybody was just like, "Oh, we did it, guys. Let's have a drink. Like let's enjoy ourselves for once." Because the past like 2-3 months were just wild.
Yeah, fuck, man, you guys deserve it after putting on a show like that for the last one of CS:GO for the like, man. It's just this whole thing is just so fascinating to me, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's every time I try and explain it to people, it's so hard. Like if they're a gamer, they get it. You know what I mean? Like especially if they're an esports fan, they're like, "This is sick." But then when they're not, you try and explain to someone who isn't a gamer, it's like I'm speaking gibberish to them.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're always like pretty much go 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 go, constantly working, constantly traveling, all of that type of thing. But do you ever get downtime to, look at previous events that you've done like Paris or Austin? Do you ever look at the streams or look at clips and go like, wow, like we did that? Do you ever get a chance to appreciate that work other than when you're in the moment, you can step away for 10 minutes and, kind of soak it in then?
I'm a stickler. I very rarely watch the stream because I'm watching the server, like I'm watching the game itself. So I get if you've watched the major and you use the CSTV to watch it, like I get that view and that's how I watch it to myself. Um, so I never very really watch the broadcast, but um, I go back every now and then, or I see clips on Twitter. Like I'll go before I go bed, like on the night, I'm just scrolling Twitter and I see, the clips put up by our Twitter, our social media team, and I'm like, okay, this is great. You know what I mean? Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, that clip's even better now that I've heard it I've heard Scrawny scream his lungs off trying to cast over something. Um, so they're probably like my times of reflection, but downtime wise, yeah, we like there is. It's just now is the crazy section for all teams, all TOs and all teams at the moment. But once I come back from London in a couple of weeks, I'm taking a month off. That's my like.
Yeah.
I've not used my holiday days. I'm taking that month off. Like, um, so we do get our downtime. It's just right now August is, you know, Cologne, Bounty, EWC, Open into the plethora of tier 2 tournaments that ran on top of that. So I think every team is just giving it,
Yeah.
to try and get VRS points.
Absolutely. Well, that was pretty much the last question I had for you. So again, thank you so much for your time. This was super, super interesting to hear about from you. I usually like to end the podcast by letting the guests talk about anything that they, if there's something maybe you're working on with Blast, with Open London coming up that you want to promote, or if there's something that you personally want to talk about or send a message or advice or whatever it is that you want to end the podcast off on, the spotlight is shining on you. So take the floor.
Um, I basically shout out to every single person I've worked with that have come up through. So there's a lot of admins out there. My current staff, Piotr, Tommy, who are my go-to freelancers I hire, they're literally the reason Blast has tournaments because they are insanely knowledgeable about CS. Um, Previous people like Jakob, who works with PGL, I also wouldn't be in a position I am without him. He's insanely good at what he does. Yeah, likes like Matya, Mihao from ESL, like all these people helmed the way for someone like me to do a job like this. And you got to say thank you to the people who like didn't get me to where I am, but like they made that job a thing, and that's my thank you to them, basically.
Alrighty, guys, and that does it. Awesome, awesome stories, man. Awesome stuff. I just admire that kind of job that he has so much. I think it's super badass. I think it's probably got to be one of the biggest stressful jobs in the world when it comes to entertainment. I mean, the stuff that they have to do to ship everything all across the world, and it constantly go 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 go. I don't know how they do it, man. That's what makes Blast special. And shout out to Wattsy for taking the time out of his day to do this episode. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure you like the video, comment what you thought about it, and subscribe as well. And we'll catch you guys next week. Thank you very much for watching. Much love. Peace.